Good morning. Welcome in RN Q&A classes, chapter number 18, Social Changes in Modern India. The Indian subcontinent, the Indian subcontinent witnessed significant social changes during the 18th and 19th century. The onset of British rule, increasing urge for social and religion reform, rise of a middle class, rapid growth of a newspaper in both English and Indian languages, change in physical infrastructure and semi-political unification of the country were partly responsible for these changes. The end of the Mughal rule was followed by the strengthening of many regional kingdoms during the 18th century. The gradual expansion of British rule in this vacuum signifying an entirely unfamiliar system of governance with long-term repercussions. Objectives. After studying this lesson, you will be able to trace the broad outline of cluster policy of British rulers in India, examine the nature of conflict between the orientation and the Anglistics, assess the impact of British rule on educated classes in India, explore the evils in the social and religious life, explain the background of the rise of modern Indian intelligentsia, the reform movements and issues raised by them, identify the stages of the growth of Western education in India, and identify the stages of the growth of press in India. British British cultural policies in India. The beginning of British rule in India witnessed many imperial ideology in operation back home in England. There were divergent ideologies at work regarding best possible ways to governing the empire. Policies were often derived by the popularity or by specific ideology in Europe in general and England in particular. They also depended upon the whims and fancies of higher British authority in India. After the battles of the Plassey 1757 and Buxar 1764, British ruler faced many difficulties in governing the regions they had won. It will be very interesting to see that different ideology took center stage at different times. Orient Orientalistics. The first generation of British administrators in India, like Warren Hastings, William Jones, and Jonathan Duncan, popularized the view that India had a glorious past, which had subsequently degenerated. These scholars and administration were called orientation. They were keen to learn and propagate Indian languages and tradition. This they thought would ensure a better understanding of Indian, which would eventually strengthen their rule over this country. To stretch this argument further, we can say that the orientation depicted India past in a way of that was in consonance with the needs of the colonial administration. Important institution that came to identify with the efforts were the Calcutta Madras, founded by Warren Hastings 1781, the Aztec Society of Bengal, founded by William Jones 1784, and the Sanskrit College at Banaras, founded by Jonathan Duncan 1794. William Jones learnt Indian classical language and found important linguistic connection between Sanskrit and classical Western language like Greek and Latin. For around 50 years, the Ascetic Society was an important center of learning and rare institution to undertake translation of notable Sanskrit texts. An important general published by it was the aesthetic researcher Warren Hastings held the view that Hindu possessed law which continue unchanged the first century. Therefore, the British should master these laws and the Sanskrit languages in which the texts were written if they wished to establish their governance in the country, to provide precise idea of the customs and manners of Hindus, and we have it published a code of Janto laws in 1776. There was a strong urge to make local British administration familiar with the Indian culture and tradition. For Fort William College, founded by Wellesley in 1801 to train the young British recruits to the civil services in India, was meant to serve primarily this purpose. This college became an important center for producing knowledge on and had about India. It had many departments devoted exclusively to research on Indian languages and literature. Influence of ideas on administrative and economic policies. Influence of ideas was clearly visible in the administrative and economic policies. Lord Cornwallis, who became Governor General in 1786, was influenced by the 18th century Whig political philosophy. In the Whig philosophy, the main organs of the government, executive, legislative, and judiciary, should be separate. This would provide check and balance on each other activity so that the organ exercise attributory powers. Philip Francis and Edmund Burke were the two important eminent political thinkers of the 18th century England. Burke insisted that the prosperity of the natives must uh, be secured before any attempt was made to reap profit from them. Phillips Francis, his friend and member of the Supreme Council in Calcutta in 1770s, drew up a comprehensive plans for administrating property in Bengal. This plan subsequently influenced Cornwallis policy. A permanent settlement for Bengal, Bihar, and Odisha in 1793, Cornwallis succeeded in laying the foundation of a strong wing policy of governance of Bengal. You will read more about the policies of permanent settlement in the chapter dealing with the economic history of British period. England was the first country to experience industry revolution, which led to massive increase in the output finished product. British industry capitalists now argued for a free play in British colonies. They put pressure on British government to curtail the company monopoly in India. Market free market theories influence the ideology position of many policies makers in India as well. Finally, the Charter Act of 1813 abolished company monopoly of trade with India. Simultaneously, the library and utility gained a strong position within the policy making apparatus of India. Socio-religion reform. A distinct feature of the 19th century India was the argument for social and religion reform, which cut across caste and communities. India was a long tradition of religion reform and social dissent during the ancient period, and as for reform can be seen in Upanishad text, Buddhism, Jainism, Vicharan, uh, Tantrias, etc. During the medieval India, passed by the first generation of British rulers, helped to sharpen educated classes' constitution of their own existence. Early reforms were groping to find suitable answer, but the agenda for the modernization was not set up by the Western influence because the logic for reform was sought to be located within India's past. Bengal Renaissance, Renaissance reforms movement which took deep roots within Bengal have often been a term. Bengal Renaissance. Bankim Chandra Chatterjee and Vipin Chandra Pal referred to development in 19th century development in 19th century Bengal as a period of Renaissance. It may be not be proper to compare European Renaissance with developments in Bengal, as the context with entirely different and pattern not too similar. However, the feature which were referred to were while taking of a Bengal Renaissance may be clubbed under the three major categories: historical redistribution, linguistic and literary modernization, and social religion reforms. Brahmo Samaj. Uh, Brahmo Samaj from the Bengal Brahmo Samaj. Ram Mohan Roy from Bengal was the most notable reformer of the modern times. He was among the first to bring political questions in the habit of public debates. His Atmiya Sabha, founded in 1814, discussed important social and political questions of the time. In 1828, its in charge edition was called the Brahmo Samaj, which was renamed the time, including the widely prevalent practice of becoming sati. He relies to uh, he relies support to the time, including the widely prevalent practice of becoming sati. He relies support to the efforts of William Banting, Governor General, for abolition of this custom and wrote extensively for the cows. In 1829, the custom of sati was formally abolished. uh, he wrote extensively for the cows. In 1829, the custom of sati was formally abolished. He also an advocate of modern education. He opened an English school as well as a Vedanta college. 1825, he was a firm believer in the concept of of one God. He was opposed to ideology or found Upanishad as the basic of true Hinduism. He wished to purely Hinduism by removing all kinds of evils that had crept into a over century. He was not opposed to English education and spread of Western knowledge. After Roy death in 1833, the Brahmo Samaj started getting disorganized. It was given a definite shape and popularized beyond the city of Calcutta under the leadership of Devendranath Tagore, who joined in 1842. A year later, he wrote Brahmo Covenant. This covenant was a statement of the greed of Samaj and made a list of the duties and obligations of its members. Keshav Chandra Shi, 1838 to 84. He joined the Samaj in 1858, was very eloquent and persuasive leader. He took the activities of the Samaj beyond Bengal and up into UP, Punjab, Madras, and Bombay. He redesigned the Samaj by attacking a caste system underlying women rights, promoting widow remarriage, and raising the issue of caste status of Brahmo preachers, which was earlier reserved for Brahman. He laid stress on universalist in religion. His predilection brought him into opposition with Devendranath. In 1866, the Samaj was formally divided into Adi Brahmo Samaj headed by Devendranath and the Brahmo Samaj of India headed by Keshav Chandra Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, another Bengali reformer who actively raised the issue related to women was Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. He was an active proponent of education of girl child as a believed that lack of education was the real cause underlying all these problems, especially to breed child. He forcefully attacked child marriage and polygamy. He was a strong advocate of a widow remarriage. It was due to his active mobilization of support that the Widow Remarriage Act was passed into 1856 to legalization all widow remarriages. He arranged many such remarriages. He set a personal example when his son Narayan also married a widow. Ramakrishna Mission. During the late 19th century, another notable reform movement in Bengal, which soon spread to other parts of the country, was the Ramakrishna Mission. The movement began under the ascetic and priest Gandhadhar Chatterjee of Swami Ramakrishna Ramakrishna Paramahansa 1836 to 86, who achieved inner peace around 1871 to 2. He preached university of all religion and forward preserving beliefs and roots of Hinduism. Among his important disciplines was Narendra Nath of Swami Vivekananda, who among his important discipline was Narendra Nath or Swami Vivekananda, who uh, accepted Ramakrishna as his guru in 1885. He spread the masses of spiritual Hinduism in American and Europe during his tour of 1893 to 97. He established Ramakrishna Mission in 1897 and set up Nath at Belur. He died at a young age of 40 in 1902. Vivekananda was opposed to degeneration in religion, manifold division, caste rigidities, practice of untouchability, superstitions, etc. He pointed out that present condition of Hindu was due to their ignorance, which was helped by being a subject rare race. He attempted to establish Hindu spirituality supreme bias are the selfish civilization of the West. However, he believed that India had to learn work ethics from other organization and technological advances from the West. Reform movements in Western India. Many important reform movements arose during the 19th century Western India. Reforms like K.T. Telang, V.N. Mandalik, and R.G. Bhandarkar Golifield India's past. There were some who lead a direct attack on social evils like caste system and encouraged widow remarriage. Um Karsondas Mulji and Dadova uh, Pandurang, they forced Manav Dharma Shava in 1844 and Prabhansha Mandali in 1849. The Mandali carried its activities secretly. Its members took up pleas that they would abandon all caste distinctions. The Mandali declined after 1860 as its membership and activities lost secrecy. Keshav Chandra Sen, twins visit to Bombay in 1864 and 1867 had a deep impact of social reform in this part. A direct consequence of his visit was the founding of the Pratna Samaj in 1867 by Atmarama Pandurang Mahadev Govind Ranade, who run the Deccan Education Society, was the real force working behind this organization. Several members of the Pratna Samaj had earlier been active in the uh, Prahansana Mandali. This Samaj denounced idolatry, priestly domination, caste rigidities, and preferred monotheism apart from Hindu sects. It also drew upon Christianity and Buddhism. It sought truth in all religion, drawing inspirations from the Maratha Bhakti sons of the medieval period. Ranade sought to establish the concept of one compositionate God. Arya Samaj, the most profound reform movement in the late 19th century India, was the Arya Samaj. It started in the western India and the Punjab and gradually spread to a large part of the Hindu heartland. It was founded by Dayanand Saraswati, 1824 to 83. In 1875, he wrote Satyarth Prakash or the Light of Truth, and in the same years founded the Bombay Arya Samaj. The Lahore Arya Samaj was founded in 1876. Subsequently, Lahore became the epicenter of the Arya movement. Dayanand opposed a ritual riddle Hindu religion and called the basing it on the preaching of the Vedas. Only Veda, along with their correct analytical tools, were true. He attacked Purans. Polytheist ideological and domination of the priestly class, he adopted Hindu for researching out of masses. He also opposed child marriage. He was firstly opposed to multiplicity of caste, which he thought was primarily responsible for encouraging conversion of lower caste into Christianity and Islam. After Dayanand's death in 1883, the Samaj Lee scattered. Most important attempt to unite the Samaj and its activity was the founding of the Dayanand Aglo Vedic opened a school with Lala Hansraj as its principal. However, some leaders of the Samaj were opposed to Aglo Vedic education. They were Munshi Ram uh, Swami Shraddhanand, Gurudutt Lekram, and others. They argued that the Arya Samaj education initiative must focus on Sanskrit Arya ideology and Vedic scriptures and should have little space for English learning. This militant wing thought that Dayanand words were Sturkant and his message in Satyarth Prakash could not be questioned, while the moderate wing, led by Lala Hansram and Lajpat Rai, pointed out that control of DAV management society. These differences finally lead to a normal division of the Arya Samaj in 1893 when Munshi Ram broke away along with his of the Arya Samaj were DAV group and Gurukul group. Munshi Ram and Lekram devoted themselves to popularized of the teaching of the Vedas and began an Arya Kanya Pantsala at Jalandhar to safeguard education. Haridwar. This institution became the center of the Gurukul education wing of the Arya Shraddhanand. The two wings of the Arya Samaj Devi wing and the Gurukul wing had differences on the question of education but were united on important political and social issues of the time. The Arya Samaj as a whole opposed the conversion of Hindu to Islam and Christianity and therefore advocate reconversion of recent converts to Hinduism. This process was called Suddhi. They also advocated greater uses of Hindu in Devanagari script. In the 1890s, the Arya Samaj also raised the issue of cow slaughter and formed Guru Shikni is Sabhas or the Cow Protection societies for protection of the cows. The Arya Samaj lead to prolonged movements against untouchability and advocated delusion of the caste distinction. Reform movements among Muslim. There was a sense of loss of power among educated the elite Muslim of India. This happened mainly because of transfer of power from Mughals to British and replacement of Persian by English as the language of employment and advocate an advancement in the new bureaucracy. The movement of phrases which arose among the peasant of early 19th century Bengal advocated return to pure Islam. They followed about regaining purity of Islam and objected to infiltration of non-Islamic custom, religion purification, and advocated return of to the Faraz obligatory duties of Islam, namely kalima, profession of faith, salat or namaz, sound or roas, joket or arms or to poor, and has he also preached Tawhid or monotheism, another movement which across among Muslim of Bengal was Tariq-e-Muhammad movement. Also talk about return to past purity. Another movement which was more convinced about the declining power of the ulama class, Muslim priestly class across at Dobang in the United Province. Delhi School of Islamic thought was derived from the Delhi College, currently Zakir Hussain College, which have begun imparting become become impart mm, 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 become imparting a parallel education Islamic as well as English in beginning 1830s. The college helped to foster modern constitution in the Muslim community. However, the revolt of 1857 and consequent crackdown by the British forces ended this intellectual existment. However, the urge of modernization could easily be felt among the section of Muslims. The new leadership was provided by Syed Ahmad Khan. 1817 to 98 was rightly thought that modern education was the most important path of for improvement in the condition of Indian Muslim. He called the study of European science and technology. In 1866, he formed the British India Association. He stayed in England for more than a year. During 1869 to 70, on his return, he asked his Muslim brethren to adopt some positive features of the English society, like its discipline, order, efficiency, and high level of education. He pointed out that there was no fundamental contradiction between Quran and natural science, and the new circumstances demanded a dissemination of English languages within an Islamic context. He founded the uh, Moham Mandan Anglo-Oriental College at Aligarh in 1875, which went on become the most important seminary for modern higher education among Muslims. At the elementary level, students followed the standard government circumcision in a carefully constructed Islamic environment. In 1878, the college classes were also started and non-Muslim were also enrolled. In 1886, Syed Ahmad Khan founded the Muhammad Anglo-Oriental Education Conference, the Muslim graduate of Aligarh who numbered A20 120 during 1882 1902 provided lot of excitement to the Muslim intellectual world, and in due course of time provided an able and modern leadership to the community. Impact of reform movements of 19th century set a strong background for a national liberation movements against the British imperialism. Some women reforms are played a prominent role in the social life of the 19th century. One may mention such names as Pandita Ramabai in Western part, Sister Sublakshmi in Madras, and Rokya middle class, which was consequence of its rights. Some Indian reforms also protest protested British attempt to pass those laws which they thought interfered with their religion and society. This was evident in the case of the age of consummation of the marriage by raising the age of consent from 10 to 12. We can also see that some of these reform movement by raising in issues which were in conflict with interest of other community or were rebellious in nature also work towards polarization among communal lines. Rise of Western education in India. British rulers were keen to spread their ideology and culture in India. This could strengthen their roots in the country. Besides, it would also create a class of Indian who might act as reliable agent of the British Empire. English education was the most important medium of achieving this objective. Several attempts were made throughout 19th to 20th centuries to popularize English education and make structural changes accordingly. Initially, the Orientalist administrators and scholars like Warren Hastings, Cornwallis, William Jones, Jonathan Duncan, and other attached more important to Indian classical education, but gradually their ideas lost ground. It was thought that British Empire had to fulfill a civilizing mission in India, and therefore Western science and culture needed to be popularized. Introduction of English Education and Chapter Act of 1813. English education was first introduced in India in 18th century through some charity school in Calcutta, Madras, and Bombay for educating European and Anglo-Indian children. All through the East India Company supported these schools in various ways. A beginning was finally made in the year 1813 through a Charter Act. This act allowed missionaries to travel to Indian. These missionaries were always keen to spread Western literature and teaching of Christianity through English medium. More importantly, this act asked the company to spend 1 lakh rupees annually for encouraging Indian educated classes, reviving and improvement of literature and promotion of science among Indians. However, this clause and interpreted differentiate by different people. Debate on medium of education and role of macularity. Very soon, a debate arose about the choice to be made with regard to the medium of education in India, on which the company government was to spend. There were impassioned debates between the votaries of Oriental and English system. Things started drifting in the favor of English education when Bentinck took over as a governor general of India in 1828. T.V. Maculary was appointed as the law member in his General of India in 1828. T.V. Maculary was appointed as the law murderer in Council of in 1834. Maculary was great advocate of English education. He was made education of Englistic lead by Lord Maculary emerged victory. Maculary issued his minutes on Indian education on February 2, 1835. This message became the guiding principle for introduction of English education in India. The government resolved that its aim in future would be promotion of European literature and sciences through the medium of English languages. In future, all funds spent by the company on education would be for this purpose alone. This shift mean that now English education in India would become an important medium for the import of Western knowledge. Macaulay was of the opinion that support of English education in India would create a class of person in Indian in blood and color, but English in taste. It was perceived that this class would eventually become strong pillars of the British Raj in India. It was expected ethics when incorporated in the structure of colonial rule. These Indian would help to this kind of education was not meant for the masses but for the learned and affluent few in India. This theory assumed that the ethics of English education would percolate down to the masses through these Indians. These trained Indian, when acting as a teacher, could act as a medium through which elementary education would percolate downward in regional languages. Macaulay was convinced that with limited funds it would be impossible to attempt classify of interpret this class by enriching vernacular languages and literature would help best science and literature is reach the masses. This would enable British rulers to spread Western morality into Indian masses at a much less public expenditure. This theory also saw education as a means to enable Indian to occupy subordinate position and function as a clerk, etc. in the company bureaucracy. Wood's dispatch. The most important part of the development of education in the 19th century, especially English education, was the guideline prepared by Charles Wood, the Secretary of State in 1854, popularly known as the Wood Dispatch. This comprehensive scheme dominated education policy in the second half of the 19th century. It firmly put the European model on the map of Indian education. Its essential feature it declared the aim of education in India to be diffusion of European knowledge. For higher education, English would be able preferred medium of instruction, while the vernacular languages would be medium through which European knowledge could infiltrate to the masses. It proposed a hierarchy of schools, vernacular primary schools at the village level, followed by Anglo vernacular high schools and an affiliate college at the district level. The dispatch recommended a grants in aid of the first time to encourage private efforts in the field of education. It proposed to set up a department of public instruction to be headed by a director, one in each of the five provinces under the British rule. The department would review the progress of education in the particular province. Uh, the the Department of Public Instruction was established in 1855 and replaced the Committee of Public Instruction and Council of Education. It proposed to set up universities at Calcutta, Bombay, and Madras on the model of London University, which would hold examinator and confer degree. The universities of Calcutta, Bombay, and Madras were established in 1857. Apart from the former education, the dispatch underlined the importance of vocational education and emphasized the need to set up the technical schools and colleges. It also recommended setting up training institutions for prospective teachers. It also supported education for women. Many modern girls' schools were set up subsequently and also received government grants in aid. A Hunter Commission. A commission was set up in 1882 by V.V. Hunter to review the progress made in the field of education. Following Wood's dispatch, it was confined mostly to secondary and primary education. The Hunter Commission made a large number of recommendations. It laid special emphasis on primary education, whose control ought to be transferred to district and municipal board. At the second level, there should be two streams: one literary education, which should lead to university education, and the other of a political nature, leading to career in a commercial or vocational field. Private initiative in the field of education should be encouraged. It underlined the need to provide educate facilities for spread of women education outside the presidency towns for the next 2 decades. The recommendations of the Hunter Commission shows to impact all over. It saw unforeseen growth in secondary and collegiate education. The Punjab University and the Allahabad University were founded in 1882 and 1887 respectively. Growth of press in India. The growth of press and journalism form an important background for rise of the new consequences during the modern period. The spread of printing technology mean that books were easily available. In other words, widespread printing opened new channels of communication across India. This new printing knowledge helped growth of press and journalism. The newspaper began getting published in English languages in the late 18th century. During the 19th century, a large number of newspapers in local languages also started. James Auguste Hickey published the first newspaper in India, named the Bengal Gazette in 1780. It was followed by a series of newspapers from Bengal, Bombay, and Madras. Some important papers were the Calcutta Chronicle, 1786, of Madras Courier, 1788, and the Bombay Herald, in 1789. These early newspapers in English were meant primarily for the European and Anglo-Indian community staying in India. However, the company officially were concerned about news of their misdoing appearing in these papers. Therefore, restrictions were about news of their often imposed. Lord Wellesley, 1796 to 1804, imposed strict regulation through the uh, censorship of the Press Act in 1799. This act warranted that all content was to clear by secretary to the government. Names of the printer, editor, and proprietor were to be the by the secretary to the government. Names of the in 1818 removed the pre-censorship of the press. However, these realizations proved in 1818 and removed the press censorship of the press. However, these realizations proved temporary, as John Adam, who became acting governor general in 1822 23, imposed some tough regulation on press. In the same year, license was made mandatory for starting or using a press. The Governor General reserved the right to cancel a license. The officiating Governor General Charles uh, Metcalfe, 1835 to 36, was a supporter of free press. He removed the regulation of 1823 Metcalfe Press Act, just wanted publisher to give declaration about the place and premises of the publication. This liberating influence had a positive impact on growth of press, as a large number of newspapers started publishing till stiff regulation were again imposed in 1857 due to the revolt. Most serious restriction on the growth of Indian languages newspaper was Lord Lytton Veer Vernacular Press Act of 1878, a highly based and racial measure. This act attempted to stifle opposition to the government voiced in the local languages of the country. Similar restrictions were not imposed on the English languages newspaper. It was an important example of light-tone conservative and arrogant attitude. It indirectly empowered the government to control all serious writing by Indian intellectual. There was no appeal there was no appeal against the decision of the district magistrate. The act was repealed in 1882, while Lord Ripon was a very popular victory among Viceroy among Indians for the liberal views and measures. What you have learned? You have learned that British ruled looked at India quite differently. Policies made by them were also influenced by their ideological inclinations. During the 19th century, a series of reform movements swept across India. These movements tried to address issues related to condition of women, caste, rigidities, evils that had crept in religion, beliefs of people, modernization of community, education, backwards, etc. British policymaker also tried to popularize English education in India. This could be the medium of the for the import of European culture and morality. This would eventually help them strengthen their control over this country. During this period, both the English as well as the Indian languages press flourished. However, restrictions were imposed at different times to curtail the freedom of press. Social changes that occurred during the modern period helped to prepare the country ultimately for a national liberation movements against the British rule.